So there are lots of really interesting stories that illustrate why a systems thinking approach is useful. One of them has to do with the island nation of Kiribati and the problem of declining fish stocks. The island relied very heavily on the fish stocks and fishing around the island. There was a point where the fish stocks were declining, and so the people in the development world said, well, let's look at this. And they basically found out that people earned their livings one of two ways on the island. They either did coconut farming and earned their living through selling coconuts, or they did it through fishing. And they quite logically thought, well, if the fish stocks are declining, we need less people fishing, so let's provide an incentive for more people to coconut farm than fish. And they set up a program where the government subsidized coconut farming, and as more people coconut farmed and took advantage of the incentives, and the fish stocks still declined. And they began to look at, well, why? What should have been a pretty straightforward, almost mechanical kind of problem that they designed an approach to deal with. And the approach actually was executed well and actually worked as it was designed, but didn't have the outcome they wanted. The reason it didn't is because there were other forces in that system that were masked by what seemed like a straightforward problem, but really weren't. And so what they found was that, yes, more people coconut farmed and made more money at it, which actually gave them more leisure time and more money to spend in that leisure time, which meant they spent more time fishing and bought better fishing equipment and were more productive at the fishing. So actually more fish were being caught and the fish stocks went down. The systems approach is a way of looking at a problem in its context, because there are certain problems that are not solvable just through directly addressing the hurting issue or the dislike symptom of the problem. So you often have to look at the whole system and then figure out, well, what is it about the system that is producing that outcome? So it's the same with things like homelessness, where we feel like if we build shelters, it will end homelessness. It doesn't. It might solve a part of the problem, which is to get people off the streets, but it's not dealing with the underlying causes. That is the value of taking a systems approach when you're dealing with very complex, what people call wicked problems or adaptive problems. Those are the ones that really demand that you sort of step back and open your aperture, look at the whole context and see how that context affects the issue I care about. Because the solution or the answer is not directly on addressing the problem, it's addressing that interlocking system that produces it and thereby affect the problem.